Hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel, M3K Tarot. How's it going today? Today is just going to be a quick collective message on what is it that you guys kind of need to hear right now. My cat will not leave me alone, so she's going to be meowing and all over the place. So the words that Spirit kind of gave me is a return to innocence, a return to purity, or just a return to your inner child. There's something here about you accepting yourself for all of who you are. And like not rejecting parts of you that you normally would have rejected in the past, if this is making sense. So it's like we did have a full moon in Aries too, by the way. These readings are timeless, but there's something here about perhaps something coming up, something about you entwining your energy with other people's energy. We have the snake in reverse, which is all about not seeing your own magic. There's something here about a mirror as well. So what could have happened in like the recent past, or just what's happening recently, is things that have been kind of triggering you or acting as a mirror to show you where you are not completely embodying your full self or your true self or your authentic self. Now this includes your shadow sides, okay? The stuff that you kind of would rather do without or just push to the wayside. There's something here about you know, kind of getting some sort of downloads about where you are maybe enmeshing yourself with other people, where you are maybe even seeking validation, things like this. I am gonna read, so oh my goodness, my bad. I am gonna read a little bit from the book here, because the snake energy keeps coming out, which is like realizing your untapped potential. But when it's out of balance, starts and stops many things. Okay, so this has to kind of do with your healing. So say you're like starting something and you're like, okay, I want to like take up this new skill. I want to do this new thing. I want to have this new perspective of myself. But every time I like get 10 steps ahead and start doing that, it's almost like I enmesh with other people's energy, and it's almost like I'm kind of brought down again to the same old habits, the same old ways. There are people around me that are kind of mirroring me, mirroring the old self, mirroring who I kind of don't want to be. And like this is like sharing energy or sharing personal space without restraint. Something here about that. So, I mean, it's not to like blame other people, right? For, oh, well, the only reason why I did this again is because of the people I was around. It's not like that kind of energy. It's more of you recognizing, you know, your environment and the circumstances of your environment, but also not rejecting any parts of yourself, if this is making sense. There's something here about you upholding boundaries, or needing to uphold boundaries, or realizing you need to uphold some sort of boundaries. Okay, because I feel like a lot of you have been triggered lately when it comes to your old self or your shadow self, or parts of you that you were wanting to change. It's like either the environment or other people around you are triggering these elements of you, and you're like, no, I've changed that. That's not me anymore. I'm holding this like vision of me, and this is who I am. But then you're rejecting old parts of you that are still like, hey, I'm still here. Like, I really want to be noticed. I really want to be recognized. I want to be integrated. Hello, I'm still here. Like that kind of thing. So it's almost like, you know, you want to start something new. You want to be this like new person, or start something new, or, you know, have this newness to you, this like return to innocence, this thing like that. But then there's like these parts of yourself that you're not really willing to acknowledge, or you're like, no, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that anymore. Yeah, orphan, 404 on the clock there. So feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate families, independence on learning to go it alone, conquering the fear of surviving. So this is like rejecting parts, like abandoning, feeling abandoned, or abandoning parts of yourself. And then we have the hedonist, celebrates the beauty in yourself, indulges at the expenses of others, pursues pleasure to the detriment of health. So I am feeling like this, it's almost like self-abandonment, I want to say, where you are like wanting to be this new person, wanting to go on this new road, do this new thing, become this new person. But then your shadow like pops up again, and it's like, but I'm still here. Hello. And you're like, no, I don't want to deal with that. But then you end up like having to listen to it because the shadow, it's going to get louder and louder and louder with these triggers, right, that are going on in the environment and the people around you mirroring this to you, because it's like you're trying to ignore the parts of you that don't want to be ignored anymore. You're like, no, I'm not dealing with that anymore. I'm not that person. I don't do that habit. I'm just not that person anymore. But they keep coming up because there's like this sense of self-abandonment there. There's a need for forgiveness and self-acceptance for these parts of yourself, right? They can't just be shoved down. They can't just be ignored. They can't be just like, I'm not that person anymore. That is not me. I'm just going to choose to ignore that person, that part of me. Like say you really want to clean up your lifestyle, right? And you want to clean up, and you're a strict, say vegetarian. Now I'm only using this as an example, but, and then, one day your emotions come up and they drive you to eat something unhealthy, or they drive you to eat something like meat, right? And you're like, oh, like, why did I go and I do that? Why did I go and do that? It's because of these underlying emotions to actually why you want to be the vegetarian. Why is it that you want to give off this perception of yourself as, no, you are a vegetarian now, you are clean eating, and this, are you really doing it for yourself? Or are we doing it for the right reasons or something like this? There's an emotion that's attached to it, okay? A storyteller. Are we trying to tell a story? Right? Hermit. So this is going within. Ability to experience and express life through stories and symbols. And then making up tales, right? So there's something here about making up like this facade. I'm hearing in order to make yourself feel better by rejecting the shadow parts of you. It's like, no, say you're, okay, so say, I'm going to just use an example, okay, trigger warning. Say that you were a little bit of a lustful person, okay? Just in the past, you were very lustful, you had lots of, intimate relationships with other people. But then all of a sudden you come up and you're like, no, I'm celibate. I'm going to cut that part of me completely out, okay? I'm going to just, you know what? That's not me anymore. I'm rejecting every part of me that was that way. And now you're on this like journey to celibacy. Okay. So say you have emotions that come up that want to be acknowledged, that have to do with the past and how you may have been a little bit promiscuous, things like that. But you are rejecting these parts of yourselves, right? So they still want to come up. They still want to be heard. And then say you have an incident, right? A martyr came out. So say you have this like incident, so, and then you kind of like slip up and you go back into your old ways, right? So those parts of yourselves are coming up to be recognized, are coming up to be integrated, are coming up to be liberated, right? This is liberating, releasing negative thought patterns about yourself and liberating yourself, not abandoning yourself, but showing yourself compassion and forgiveness. So this is like slipping, I'm getting the energy of like slipping into old patterns, slipping into old ways of being, but then rejecting it and feeling shame for it. There's something here about feeling shame for the shadow or shadow attributes that come back up, that you kind of like wanted to put this whole new perception that you are somebody else. You're abandoning the old parts of you, which is okay in a way. But needs to be some sort of integration. There needs to be some sort of acknowledgement and some sort of compassion when it comes to integrating these emotions and these parts of you that, may have been affected by pain and trauma of the past, if this is making sense. So there may be old situations coming up where old emotions are coming up, or old parts of you where you were kind of like old parts of you, right? That are coming up and you're like, no, I'm not that way anymore. I'm abandoning you. I'm rejecting it. I am not going to deal with that. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to even think about it. That thing. But then it keeps coming up and you're like, oh, why is this happening to me? Martyr energy, right? Why is this happening to me? No, I don't want this to happen to me. This is not this is not who I am anymore. This is not who I want to be. But it keeps coming up so that it can be liberated once and for all, right? There's a need to forgive and accept those parts of ourselves rather than try and suppress them and pretend like they never even existed, okay? Lover. This is all about loving and compassion, right? Being your own companion, okay? This could have to do with relationships as well, like the relationships around you. It says great passion and devotion, unbridled appreciation of someone or something. This includes yourself. Unbridled appreciation for yourself, okay? And your past, you know, who you were in the past. Companion is also reminding me of the relationship you have with yourself. And then we have Don Juan, spotlights your seductive qualities with lovers, okay? So this very well could do with lovers, okay? And then we have the guide, represents the divine nature in life and oneself. So it's guiding you to reconnect to, yeah, and then we have destroyer at the bottom here, releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for a new life. This is all about preparing for a new life. This is like what you wanted to do. This is what you're trying to do, but the old versions of you keep coming up to be healed, to be integrated, to be loved, to be accepted, not pushed away, not shunned, not to be embarrassed of, things like this, okay? They're coming up, they're bullying you, right? It's almost 11:11 was on the clock. Highlights your tendency to intimidate others, helps you confront the inner fears that bully you. So these are like subconscious inner fears that bully you, right? It's almost like we're a slave to the inner fears. And it's almost like you're a slave to your subconscious. You're a slave to your past self. You're always trying to escape the past versions of you, but those past versions of you keep coming up, and they keep coming up, and they keep coming up, and it's like, no, I want to escape the past version of me. The only way we can escape the past version of ourselves is to accept it and love it for what it is, right? And allow it to be a guide instead of this big scary, you know, volcano that we have to run from, right? Allow it to guide you. Why is it coming up? You know, kind of ask questions like this instead of trying to abandon it, right? And abandon ourselves. Try and ask questions of like, why is this coming up? Every time I try and start something, it stops again, and I have to go back to ground one, right? And I have to put up new boundaries for myself, and it feels like I'm always in a battle with me and my old self. It always feels like I'm like at a tug of war, and there's this feeling of, you know, why is it coming up? Like, what is it trying to tell you? What is it trying to tell me? Okay? And there's a need to learn from it. And look, Scorpio energy now. This is like hidden depths, like sex, death, rebirth, cycles, the occult, things that are hidden, transformative, intense, passionate, secretive, carnal, thorough, obsessive, intimate, primal, lusty. We have Don Juan here too in the lovers, right? Lusty. This could very well be doing with, you know, your sacral chakra and intimacy. And now intimacy doesn't have to be, you know, that type of intimacy. It can be like intimate connections with people, intimate conversations with people, things like that. You know, where are we abandoning ourselves in that kind of way? Deep, eternal, resourceful, mysterious, regenerative, compulsive, destructive, and manipulative. So in the past, you may have been manipulative, right? Acted on desires, acted on what wants and needs, impulses, acting on impulses. Maybe perhaps in the past you were very impulsive, acted only on desires. This is what this Don Juan card is kind of reminding me of. Yeah, using the power of romantic attraction for private agendas, things like this, lovers. Like there's like a lot of, you know, manipulation. Yeah, we have the 7th house coming out with partnerships here, okay? And then outlook, it came in reverse. So the outlook on how you relate to other people is changing. And it's because you want to, now you may find yourself slipping into these old ways where you're like, no, I'm not that person anymore. Like I could be that person, but I'm not that person anymore. I want to change. And it's almost like we're rejecting it, but then our shadow comes up and it's like, bah, I want to be seen, I want to be healed. And it's like, no, I don't want to deal with that. Why is this happening to me? Like, why are you triggering me? Why is this relationship here? Like, why am I going through this again? And it's because there's a need to actually integrate these emotions. There's a need to feel them. There's a need to ask questions. There's a need to dive a little bit deeper into why these relationships are coming up. It's a challenge, yeah, with this square, right? Why these relationships are coming up. We have Uranus energy with this Aquarius. It's like sudden, it's like to innovate, like pow, to destroy some sort of challenge that you're going through. Like, why are these relationships coming up? Why are they challenging me? Why do I feel like, yeah, Leo wanted to come out with the lover? It's almost like, why am I being challenged by my old self in my relationships? It feels like I am resorting back to my old ways or my old self when these relationships come up, and they're only coming up as a guide. They're trying to guide you into integration, into more of self-acceptance, into not abandoning yourself, right? Conquering the fear of surviving or learning how to go it alone, right? I'm gonna actually pull. What is this? Conquering. Child orphan. Abandonment. 9 of Pentacles. Yeah, independence, right? Learning how to go it alone without someone there. Yeah, look at being rejected. Maybe there's feelings of abandonment here as well. The 2 of Cups and the 4 of Cups. That's like boredom, apathy, you know, with the Hermit right behind it. There's some sort of wisdom that's coming up for your relationships. Independence based on learning to go it alone. Don Juan, guide. This is like learning to... there is something here about your independence. It's like completion, cycles. Then the Star card wanted to show itself, which is Aquarius energy, which was here somewhere with that innovator, completing cycles of perhaps, you know, needing someone. There's almost like this, when your shadow comes forth and you're like, no, I'm independent. I don't need like to enmesh myself in other people. I don't need to be around other people. You start this and then you go back to needing or wanting someone. It's almost like a feeling of codependency. And then we act on impulses, right? We act on desires, this primal instinct with Scorpio, and Mars is like very impulsive, very desirable, very lusty, very like, very primal, very primal. It's like, no, I need someone. No, I want someone. But then we're like, no, we're independent. And your outlook kind of gets, but then you get triggered. What's the triggers with the Swan and the Mirror? Change, triggering change within you. Yeah, triggering you to move on, to move forward from your fears. Okay, this is also subconscious, things that are hidden, illusions, right? There's your shadow self here with the Moon card. It's triggering change so that you can integrate something with your shadow. I hope this is all making sense. It feels like it's all over the place. Yeah, illuminating your self-worth. Okay, the Sun and the Empress. There's that Leo energy. Calling judgment, okay? Being able to know the self-worth. It's almost like you want to become this person, right? You want to attract a divine counterpart, perhaps even as well, but there are some aspects to yourself that you are kind of abandoning and ignoring, right? And the Knight of Wands came out. This is like your sexual desires. This is like not shaming yourself for having sexual desires, okay? There's something like that coming through as well. Moving forward. All right, so you could be someone who is like shaming yourself a little bit for, you know, maybe you look at someone, you're like, ooh, I really would desire that, but then you shame yourself. It's like, no, we're not like that. Ew, we're not like that anymore. Ew, ew, ew. And then you shame yourself, and it's like it's gonna keep coming up until, yeah, we have the King of Wands, impulsive, right? Calling judgment. Scorpio energy again with this Judgment card. And Leo energy with the King of Wands here, which Leo came out before as well. So this is like calling, like, don't judge yourself for your desires, your impulses. The King of Wands is very like passionate and a little bit impulsive, right? Like, and there's a need to not be so judgmental about it. There's a need for self-acceptance and to not abandon that part of yourself. Okay, yeah, look at. So we have the Queen of Pentacles, the 8 of Swords, the shadow side, which is the devil, which is like your desires, obsessiveness, like lusty, primal desires of wanting, you know, connection. But then we're in our head about it because we are supposed to be this elegant Queen of Pentacles energy. Now, masculine or feminine, doesn't matter. Self-made Queen of Pentacles, very very, proper. Very proper. So then we shame our shadow side. We shame the parts of us that we actually reject, and we're like, no, I'm not that person anymore. I'm supposed to be this Queen of Pentacles. I don't do relations like this. Right? But there's a need to not shame yourself. Okay? Justice wanted to it's all about balance, right? So by integrating this part of your shadow that you may not want to acknowledge, or there is an embarrassment energy coming through, and there's like a shameful energy coming through. Tower moment. There's that Uranus energy with the Queen of Cups. Okay, this is like destruction. It's built on false foundations. It's not who you really are. Who are you really, right? And accepting all of who you are. Okay, so I hope that made sense. If it did, please comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one.